Yoma Daf Min Daf. Today's email comes from Benjamin Samuel. I love hearing the emails and get tremendous chizuk from them, and they help me to continue daily. Firstly, I would like to send regards to R Eli Leader. He used to learn with my father for years. It was nice to see him today. Also, I do have one request. Please, can you repeat some of the relevant comments from the Olam during the shir? It's like only hearing one half of the conversation. Thank you for your wonderful shir, and of course, have a wonderful day. Benjamin Samuel, thank you. So Yoma Daf Min Daf, we saw in the Mishnah uses a lashon that the person who's memaris the dam, the person who mixes the blood so that it doesn't congeal, stands in the roiv Ravi ba'heichal, in the fourth row, inside the heichal. That's if you read it like that, but the Gemara explains that that's not what it means. It means from the heichal. So it's 4 rows outside of the heichal. Because it says in the pasuk, "V'chol adam lo yeh ba'il mayid." You're not allowed to be inside the oil mayid when the Kohen Gadol is performing the avodah. And from this pasuk we see that when the Kohen Gadol is performing the haktaras k'tayres in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's also for anybody to be inside the heichal. But in the hazara, it's mutter for you to be. This is, even though the Torah talks about oil mayid, applies also to Shiloi and the Bayis Rishon and the Beis Hamikdash, the Bayis Sheni, because the pasuk says Ba'kodesh, anywhere there's a kedusha. The pasuk is actually talking about k'tayres. Why? Because k'tayres is something that gives a kapara to the kohen and to all of Klal Yisrael. Whereas dam, for instance, is from one carbon, there's a sar, there's a par, different karbanos. And we see that k'tayres gives a kapara from the magefa of kairach after kairach. There's a magefa, and Baruch said, put the k'tayres, and that was mechaper. And what does it do today? It's mechaper on the avera of lashon hara, which is done in privacy. People don't want other people to know that they're speaking lashon hara. Just like k'tayres is done in privacy, there's no noise. It's in Kodesh HaKadoshim. When the Kohen Gadol sprinkles the blood, it's also also for people to be in the heichal, because it says bevay lechaper, he's a kapara. And the isra is from the time he walks in until he comes out, because it says at seisai, until he comes out. First, the Kohen Gadol achieves kapara, then he gets a kapara for his family, for his wife and his family, and then for all of Klal Yisrael, as the pasuk says. Rebbe Lazar says very interesting. You cannot be next to the Kohen Gadol, but it's only one area next to the Kohen Gadol. But you don't have to be removed 2 areas away. So, for instance, if the Kohen Gadol is inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim doing the k'tayres, you cannot be next to him in the heichal, but you're allowed to be right outside of the heichal, called Bein Ha'ulam LaMizbeach. And we could actually explain the Bryce. The Gemara wanted to bring a question from the Bryce on this Rebbe Lazar, but it actually could be a riot to Rebbe Lazar. Rabbi Yossi says in the Bryce that not only do you have to remove yourself from the heichal on Yom Kippur, but also during the year by other karbanos that are done inside the heichal, like par, helam davar, and the carbon of the Kohen Gadol. If Klal Yisrael is an avera by mistake, Sanhedrin passing, they could do an avera. They have to bring this carbon. That's all done in the heichal. And we learn these karbanos from Yom Kippur. It's Xeris Shava. And Rabbi Yossi continues and he says, what is the difference between the kedusha of the heichal and the kedusha of the area right outside of the heichal called Bein Ulam LaMizbeach? You have to remove yourself from the heichal, whether it's these maktik k'tayres in the heichal or whether the Kohen Gadol is maktik k'tayres in Kodesh HaKadoshim. You have to get out of the heichal. But the area of Bein Ulam LaMizbeach, you only have to remove yourself only when the avodah is right next to it in the heichal. But if the avodah is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you don't have to remove yourself. That's the difference. And that's exactly what Rebbe Lazar said. At any rate, the Gemara says you can't bring a raya. There's different areas, many different areas, and each one is a different level of kedusha. You have the harabayis, and more than that in kedusha is the chayil, and then Ezras Nashim is even more. Ezras Yisrael is more than that. Ezras Kohanim, the Azar, Bein Ulam LaMizbeach, the Ulam, the heichal, the Kodesh HaKadoshim. You would say maybe it's halacha Moshe Sinai, because if not, why didn't Chacham say that you have to distance yourself from the entire Azar? Maybe just like we're concerned, you might walk in from Bein Ulam LaMizbeach into the heichal, the whole Azar also. Because you could say that perhaps the Azara has an invisible line made by the Mizbeach. People know, don't go past the Mizbeach. You could also say that the area between the Ulam, the Mizbeach, and the actual Ulam itself have one Kedusha. You're not forced to say that they're 2 separate Kedushas. And you could say that's why Chachamim could make a Xera and say you have to remove yourself between the Ulam and the Mizbeach because you might come into the Eichel. It's not a Xera like Xera. Now the Gemara goes in the entire year, this is from the Mishnah, the Kohen Gadol or the Kohen uses a shovel made out of silver and he takes the coals from the silver and moves them over to the gold. And the reason why you use silver, because the Torah didn't want you to spend that much money on gold. But in Kippur, he didn't have to move the coals from one to the other. He used just one made out of gold because we didn't want him to be weak from the fast. Every day, the Kohen started out with 4 kav of coals, and he would move it over to a smaller shovel of 3. 1 kav would fall to the floor, they would sweep it into the amma. And that it says that there was 2 kav that fell to the floor, either goes like Rabbi Shmuel, B'nai Rabbi Yochanan, and Broika, who says that yes, he started with a shovel that was 4, but the shovel that he put it into was only 2. So 2 fell to the floor. Or it goes like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says that the machta was 1 sa, which is 6. But in the Mitzri shear, that 6 is actually 5. And you take 5 and pour it into 3, now you're left with 2 on the floor. The Mishnah says all year round, the sides of the shovel were very thick. Yom Kippur was thin, again, not that the kohen shouldn't be weak. All year long, the handle was short, but on Yom Kippur, it's very long, so you can put it under his arm and help him out to carry the weight. Every day of the year, there's something called a niyashtik. What's a niyashtik? According to Rashi, it's like a ring that goes at the end and it makes noise. According to Tosfos, because it's made, the shovel is metal, it could get very hot, so they put a piece of leather on it. Tosfos says they actually put a screw or a nail through the leather, so there's no chatzitza. And according to the Ritva, niyashtik is a cover to the shovel so that it keeps the coals very hot until the kohen gets to where he needs to go. Have a wonderful day.